Okay, so I'm back in. Oh my gosh. So, yeah. Um, yeah, thank you for your inquiry, about, the conversations surrounding questions, that are about, the predictions, for the future. Don't worry. I will um, get back into that space. We will have those conversations into the future. Um, so I feel good about not speaking to those questions um, in this space. Good for me. Yeah, nice. Definitely, bring it together. That's what we want to do. I'm so looking forward to our conversations. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this gonna be a very special conversation. Mm-hmm. Pretty much all these things come together. Like all good things, they say, all good things must, you know, um, happen at their appropriate times. But they will happen. Good things will come at their appropriate times. We're kind of just chatting just a bit. Mm-hmm. Having a beautiful conversation. You guys, my battery is so low right now, but I just wanted to come in very quickly. Yes, I was trying to, like I've noticed. I'm gonna be honest with you. I noticed that when I get into heavy talks, that live cuts off. It says stream ended. So I'm just letting you know I am using a software, and this is something of the world. So whenever I get into these types of conversations, this happens. You know. I can't help. Yeah, I'm in that space. I'm in that realm of mystery, and in a occult like substances and prophecy and oracle. So I tend to like, is that coincidence? And then of course I've been told there's no such thing as coincidence. Everything has a reason. Believing in a coincidence is like believing like there's no probable cause of things. And it's like, yeah, there is. Is it your subject matter? I don't know. But yeah, the question was, yeah, all of those deep, those conversations surrounding like prophecy, biblical prophecy. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that actually in members. So please subscribe and let's get to members. And definitely, I'm going to have those interesting We'll delve into what is up with the symbolisms of those books. Of course, I like all the books. Hello, 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 by the way. Um, I like all the books. Like, Bhagavad Gita. I always put that one first. Like, I love the Bibles of the world, not just one. I love them all. The ones that I'm picking, you know, um, they align. They perfectly align together. You could interchangeably, look at or um, in tandem with one another, and they would make perfect sense. So that would be so far in my roster: Bhagavad Gita, Old and New Testament, right? That's up there. That's the Holy Bible. The Apocrypha, um, and uh, uh, I I keep starting the Quran, but then I read I'll start reading the Quran. I'm gonna read the entire Quran, but then I'll go and I'll read an entire other book instead. Like I started reading the Quran and I went and read the entire Apocrypha. I'm also reading, what's her name? Right now I'm reading Jubilees. I've already read. You already know. I've already read the what's the other one? What's that man's name? Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. He's not coming to my mind at this. Oh my goodness. Come on. What's your name, bro? What is your name? He's the one that Enoch. There it is. Yeah, I read all of the Enoch, and I drew out and worked out them and put into mathematical where you can see that it's math, and when it's the chapter of luminaries. And I don't know if you no, yeah, I'm pretty sure you haven't seen that live. It's in a live stream, but I have still have all the materials, so I will, have to one day. Well, next time that I share something like that, it's definitely going to be in members, and we talk about, the book actually describes the processions of the earth. It's an amazing book. It talks about why we have leap years and the consequence for having leap years, and how the sun catches up with the moon in terms of cycles, which gives us an excess of approximation of 30 days. Mm-hmm. We get into some wild things, that are mathematics, and you can see, and it's not just me, like pulling letters into place, to make other words. Oh, it's yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, definitely that's membership. So this is like a continued conversation. Our live was cut from the before conversation. So I'm saying it. I'm saying it here. I'm like, look, we get into some wild things. I don't want to use prophetic because that word is overused, and you'll be thinking, oh boy, and even I'm saying it, I'm saying, oh boy, I'm like, oh boy, matching up stuff, to make it sound like, juice, like orange juice from grapes, something. It's like, no, 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 that's not what I'm trying to say. So I like calling it something else as, like, like mystical, like mystically, like just an understanding. And the lives on this subject are still up. In fact, it should look like on the thumbnail, it's like black construction paper, white ink, and it looks like formulas, like maybe like astrological formulas. I think it's still up. If it is, yeah, you can pretty much get the gist. And it's in depth, and actually show the work. I show my work, in other words. So if you're a teacher, yeah, you can see my work. And I describe all the pieces, including to support what I'm saying. It's supported by two astrophysicists. Hmm. Their names and where they hail and all of that. Um, one of them is a male and a female. There's Neil deGrasse, and then there's Lisa. Um, Lisa. Smirk. I think well, I don't want to mess up her name, but she's an astrophysicist. I had discovered her. I give her credits, in the video. Right now, I'm gonna just be. I don't want to go dig up information here. But yeah, but I am going to do that live again. um, and and whatever new fresh information that comes through. But yeah, we'll talk about all of that for sure. No problem. But I just wanted to, have those conversations in a neutral space. I think it'll flow differently, and it'll be purposeful as well. You know, um, it's there. I don't know. Somehow they come off clashing. My work and my studies in these areas that I'm referring to, like these holy texts, they're supposed to like become knotted. There's a marriage there, and they're not supposed to battle each other. But it's not supposed to be a conflict there. But sometimes it comes off like there's a conflict. I don't see the conflict. I just because it's just the energy that comes with the polarity of okay. It's kind of like that invisible question. Okay, so there's holy books, and then there's the tarot cards. So like, okay, how is that doing for you? It's that kind of energy, and in my studies, rather than they having some kind of like comparison, they actually intertwine. So I see them as together. They are coupled in my world. But I'm not. I'm never going to try and introduce that as a proof. Like there's no. I'm not trying to create a proof for that. But if you believe in, like, okay, so clearly, yeah, you do believe in quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and you know that there's still so far to go with that. We're still studying. Like, did you know? I just discovered this. There are mathematics that do not even host formulas. There are mathematics that explain nature in nature that do not hold formulas, and the only way that they can come up with a result or an answer or make a prediction is intuitive. They literally use the word intuitive, a bit of intuitiveness. And like, so you're reading this and you're like, okay, wow, there are things in nature that cannot be explained through formulas. You just know, in other words. So, and that's in my book where I'm reading about energy conservation. Um, and I bet that part, of course, in that same breath, he's talking about abstract mathematics. So the man is talking about there's a metaphysics and definitely in science. They don't want to use that necessarily that word, but you end up having to use metaphysical language or abstract mathematics, what they would go with, um, to work with quantum anything. The rest of it, so it's kind of like there's a marriage there, unspoken, right? Like forbidden fruits, and same as like with the esoteric language and let's say scriptures. But in actuality, it will take both of them in the end. They will have to come together in order to get the full understanding of anything quantum in terms of, especially when you start talking about timeline and making approximations or like predictions of events on the timeline. They use events on a timeline. We use events on a timeline. I mean, the wording even. So, I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention. I'm learning so much. And I'm seeing of course, my gift is, my educational clair is claircognizant. So I'm seeing how my claircognizant allows me to see knowledge before study. And then because I have that insight, when I do study, I know where to go find it. It's like I'm guided mystically through we call it claircognizant. Knowledge beforehand, before I study it. and then I psychically know where to find information. And then I have the depth of knowing what the information is about. Uh, which put me in a bind when it because I would of course when you're so if you're a teacher, you're teaching me about these things. I'm thinking that everybody is learning the same thing and that you really are talking about predictions. Like when they started talking about the predicting the author, that's the way I heard it. Okay, prediction, I know that. Predict the author. So, but that's not what they meant. Their prediction is based on hindsight. They talk about hindsight. So that means, like in conservation of energy, there are certain events that are customarily like already on the timeline. Psychic will make a prediction, right? Those things will happen, and then that becomes part of the timeline. So when we hindsight, we're actually hindsighting to something that maybe should not have ever been on the timeline to begin with. It's not. That's the invisible conversation, the where they say there are parts in nature that do not come with the formula. That's the part. So the way that I get the answer doesn't have a formula. Doesn't come with a formula. It's just you just know it. And the one word that they did not escape from was the mathematicians intuitively come to these conclusions. And of course, I'm all fascinated. I'm like sitting at the edge of my seat in the middle of the library, and it feels like that moment because the place where I choose to sit, there's like this stained glass window. It reminds you of like being in a very special, like a sanctuary. And and the setting is like the light will sometimes, even because the clouds are moving, the sun's out in the middle of the town, and will pierce in, right? And I'm like, oh wow, this is a moment. I'm having a moment. So I believe that I'm being guided here to contemplate how to create a bridge, um, something that is unknown. To be fair, um, the scriptural side may be a bit of an unknown for me. So like I'm well rested in the world of the psychic, and I know my tools through and through. And then I've invited, using, I said, well, I have my abilities. So let me try this one more time because my abilities will guide me to the knowledge, my claircognizant. Come to find out, there's more logic to scriptures than what maybe I thought, you know, um, previously. Where you think, oh, yeah, these are just how people feel, or like, oh, well, it's hypothetical. And it's no, there are like real, like philosophies and very concrete, tangible information in that book. Even contracts, full on contracts, are written like the way that one could construct a business contract are written. You could, like, word for word, just update the language and you would have a contract to give to anybody. So, and so then I started realizing, and then I said, well, what about the numbers? Which I think that's where I started first. It's like, first of all, if this is real, or as concrete, shouldn't the mathematics make sense? All the math, any place where there's mathematics makes perfect sense. And then of course you go like Enoch. I mean, unless you're Catholic, the full Catholic book, but Enoch book gener- ge- uh, generically is taken out of most, like, the Bibles that you might find like at Walmart, right? You go, you just buy a book, pull it off the shelf, unless you go to like a Bible shop at on a Catholic premises, where like they may sell at the shop. Maybe a hospital is Catholic, but they have also a shop, and the nuns go and they get their there are things from there, the crucifix and rosaries, etc. Bibles, right? So, but they don't. Basically, the Book of Enoch is not in those general Bibles. Even that, of course, I just as I described earlier, even that mathematic is accurate, and including not only is it accurate, it talks about earth science. If and you can point it out, and you can't say, "Oh, you just made it fit." No, it is speaking about the literally processions of the earth and the description of how the earth even rotates, how the sun, the moon, how it, and where. It tells you that very, I mean, in this language, but you cannot confuse the information to be anything other than the science end that, yeah, there is a system in which the planets and the stars, how they move and throughout the universe. So that part right there made me want to then read, well, then what about on a micro level? How are people, like as human, are their lives as real as my clients' lives? My clients have very sophisticated lives. And they're not all like straight and narrow, like linear lifestyle. A lot of them, some of them are alternative, unconventional. Decisions are made every day, right? No judgment. And yes, their lives, the human lives, experiences, they say, well, first of all, their lifestyle is outdated and cannot be matched to the way. Yeah, actually, they're doing no different than we do today. So they're doing no different than what we do today. We think them as like not knowing what certain things are. Like we're thinking, like they're not street smart. They they are into some mess. And I mean, I can come up with some stories now, but I want to save that for my members, and we'll get into conversations, but not just as they say, the Bible, but we'll get into other books too. Like these stories about people. Their lives are very human, and makes perfect sense as much as the science or the mathematics does in that book, and can actually be translated to the lifestyle of today, because the same risque uh, type, everything, all the parts of human nature is depicted, and it's blatant, and you won't miss it. You won't miss any part, and it's not sugar coated. I mean, we come to find out, the person who's the language, who's speaking, the orator is maybe out of respect for like the different groups of people sharing, but the actually is quite blunt, to be honest, especially if you read it from its original language, which is the Hebrew or Greek or whatever the language, and you bring it just word for word into your language. I guess English would be mine. It's blunt, and yes, I would imagine if you're in a room full of many different groups, ages, you might curb some of the language. I could see how there could be some subtle mistranslations, but it shouldn't be too far off because you would be able to get the hint. You would better read in between the lines. But anyway, so there's that. So it's definitely worth delving into, as I would even say educational purposes, even just like to open the mind about how the world, can work. If either how the world works, or you're still learning, trying to figure that out. And this is definitely can give insight to that world that may not